Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 16 of my modded Factorio playthrough. In this episode, we're going to be working on lead and solder. Okay, tin's coming out. What were we locked by with tin? The transport belts. Tinned copper wire. What was locked by tin copper wire? Nothing that we handcraft. Okay. So now, with all this wonderful tin, we can start building transport belts. So let's populate this. I'm not going to put these on the bus for now, just because we're not that far away from just rebuilding the thing in a better spot. It's much farther away, now that we have the resources to kind of push it out. So now that we have the faster belts, what was limited? Well, not much. But what was limited, however, was right here. So the next thing we need to do is molten lead and molten solder. Which the solder is up here, so let's get that researched. Okay, so we need to process that rubite. Through essentially the same quantities. That's a real small rubite patch, so we're going to be definitely limited on our ability to produce lead here. I don't like its proximity to that stuff, but I'm resigning myself to the fact that a lot of this stuff is going to change positions, so I'm not worrying too much about it not being in an ideal place. Okay, that's all hooked up. Let's increase power. So how much do we have in power right now? Do we have 8 total? Yes. Let's increase it to 16. I think that's just a direct copy right there. Probably need to check to see exactly how much belt we would need of carbon, because carbon is smaller than coal as far as the density. So we want to make sure that we have enough output for this. So let's say let's just do boilers, compute by factory. 20 of them. Carbon. So a full complement will actually require 12. And even what we have is going to require 9.6. And this will not produce enough, so we actually need to double up on our carbon output to be able to power this at full power. It's going to be... we're going to have to kind of rebuild this a bit. But, not much really changes, just that we need, this is actually a perfect ratio of boilers to everything. So we need 3 boilers, but let's take care of this. And if we double this up, we'll produce 17 units per second, which is enough for a yellow belt, and it is more than enough for the number of boilers that we have. And even if we had the full complement of boilers, we would still be able to power it with this. Alright, the carbon production has been updated. I started using our 15 items per second transport belts in here. And upgraded it all the way down up there, although this needs to be the input priority set correctly. There we go. It's fine when you have multiple fuel types going down a belt, because it will get consumed automatically. Like, whenever a boiler runs out of its fuel type it currently has, it'll grab whatever it can. So that will all clean up over time, so there's no reason to worry too much about that. Let's see. Well, I've got tons of bricks. It'd kind of be nice to start using them. And so I'll go through that real quick. Oh, another thing that I did was that one of these miners here is actually on the same patch as stereotype. So I put a splitter in here to suck up any stereotype that might get mined and put it into that box there, just so it doesn't get stuck throughout the system here. This setup's almost good, but we need to produce that oxygen. So you can see how we have an oxygen input. So we electrolyze water. And we only need, looks like it's a 1-to-1 ratio here. Because we need 7.5 per second. And this is 7.5, so that's easy enough. So that's pretty straightforward. But yeah, a little bit later, when we're working on nickel, I think it'll make a little more sense about why we're putting this here. But one thing to note is that we're going to produce hydrogen gas as a byproduct. Right now, we don't have anything we can do with hydrogen gas, but luckily it's one of those things you can burn for fuel. So we can make the hydrogen disappear by burning it. And we can do so with a fuel burning generator, which we can now produce because we have bronze. But I guess we don't have electronic boards yet. So we'll have to wait until we have those electronic boards done. But that's kind of the goal of where we're going with that. And then the output is going to be this sulfur dioxide gas, which we can't do anything with right now. So we just kind of need to store it. We don't need to have any fluid buffers there because it's just going to produce the oxygen as necessary, but we probably do want to have a bit of a buffer for the hydrogen. This is simply because, you know, even when we have the fluid burn generator, it can only burn it if it actually needs to use the electricity. So if we don't have an electricity use at the moment, then the hydrogen would just clog up. So by having a tank in there, that will help smooth that out a bit. Additionally, we'll want a tank for storing all of the byproduct. Just put it right there in line. And then that is set up. So far, so good. Now we just need to get this finalized. Seems like it's working pretty well. It's kind of got a backlog, so it's going to take a while to get to that, but it seems like it's working okay. Alright, we have solder to set up. Looks like it needs an equal number of both inserters, which we won't have enough of. So we can bring the lead in up through here. I was just thinking that a more efficient way of doing this would be to collect the buffer of copper ingots rather than copper plates, because we use these copper ingots in multiple things. And that will allow us to leave this connected like normal. Look at all those copper plates. Okay, let's build a silo. There we go. Now we should have a proper buffer system. I'm going to let this fill up, and then we can do a stress test of the next one, which it should work. There's no reason why it wouldn't, but might as well let it fill up. I don't think we need to carry lead plates for anything. Yeah, not really. So that will build our basic electronic board. Which requires an input of solder and basic electronic components. Actually, let's move it here. Then we can make the basic electronic components right there, which requires tinned copper wire and carbon. Do right there, and then regular copper wire, which we can do right there. Let's see, we can send our tin up here, and I guess we can connect the carbon to it as well, so tin and carbon can be on the same belt, and they will come up through there, and the solder can come in through there, something like that. Things are quickly getting messy. That is okay. This is temporary. Okay, so let's bring in solder right here. Okay, lead has caught up. Let's hook it up. It looks like the copper ingot buffer is working properly. Let's see, sulfur dioxide gas and hydrogen's already collecting. That is okay, we can deal with that soon. And we just need to wait for the resources to come in here, and then we can see how it works. Actually, in preparation, I kind of want to just move these poles out of the way, because I know how much there is a inserter limitation on these electronics assemblers. Okay, there's an inserter limitation right here. That's the limitation. Yep, everything is fine. But boom, now we have basic electronic boards. What were some of the things, I mean, it goes into lots of stuff. But what were some of the things that were limited by it? Ah yes, the electromagnetism lab. Oh, and the loaders. Loaders, filter inserters. Okay, a couple of things. Now, loaders are pretty cool if you haven't seen them. Basically, it will completely move an entire belt worth of material in and out. It's quite convenient. It's also quite cheaty, depending on how you apply it. Let's see, what are we out here? Oh, did I not hook something up properly? Uh-oh. Oh, well, that kind of explains it. Okay. But I like to use it, or I should say, I don't think it's too cheaty if you use it in large storage buildings like this, because it makes a lot of sense. And it just saves you the effort of having to have a whole ton of inserters. So we can do something like that. And these are yellow loaders, so they're actually much faster than we need them to be. For this application, anyway. But they don't use any electricity, and they're pretty easy to build, so they're kind of cheaty. But see how that just kind of looks nicer, works better. So we can do that with any similar situation where we're doing stuff like that. And also just naturally balances it. Here, I'll do it the cheaty way. How about that? Since this is temporary, to show you what I mean, or at least my opinion of what I mean. Where you just put a single chest down, Put a loader down, and suddenly, bam. Full belt of product, no work at all. We'll just let that empty out. But it's nice though because it doesn't run into the problems of one side of the belt empties before the other and you have to worry about balancers and everything. It just, it's very convenient. Like right here, for example. Where it was only using off of one side of the belt and there wasn't a balancer, so, you know, it doesn't use the chests equally. So let's get another warehouse. Or a silo. I guess the warehouses are the real big ones. We are getting pretty low on wood. We'll have to go out and get some more soon. Also, we can do a silo for all these bricks. Because my goodness, will we have a lot of them very quickly. Okay, everything's looking good. Miners are running out of resources, which is bad. 68% left. We're consuming quite a bit of it doing all this research, so I think I am not going to do any of the other optional researches after this point to save the stereotype or the sapphirite. I mean, we could also process stereotype as well. Electric drill cannot... Oh, it's depleted. That's why. Depleted coal looks the same as regular coal. We could also process stereotype for iron, but it's going to be an enormous copper overload because we already have copper overload now, and imagine having twice as much copper. Actually, yeah, I have 4 times as much copper per unit of iron than we're used to. Like, it's just going to be crazy. So we really don't want to process stereotype until we actually need it for copper. That's the end of this episode. On the next one, we're going to start using all of those circuit boards and research and upgrade all of the things that we can use them on. Thanks for watching.